Recapping Fantasy Week 5. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Fantasy Football Today on a Sunday night. Adam Azer, Heath Cummings, and Dave Richard. I love to be excited, but after the Dak Prescott injury, there's a little bit of a bummer, just like a pall being cast over Fantasy Week 5. We're going to talk about that at the top of the show. There was some good stuff. Daryl Henderson had a good game. Chase Claypool is on the map with a 4-touchdown performance that could have been, maybe should have been, a 5-touchdown performance. Dave, Heath, good evening to you. Heath, what's going on? I understand you have a team name you'd like to audition.
Yeah, I think you kind of started things on a sour note, and there were lots of positives, including me coming up with Team Name Tuesday on a Sunday. Fulgham if they can't take a joke.
I don't know that line, but it's still funny.
I mean, you've heard that people say lines that sound like that.
Right.
Why not say for the Fulgham part?
It's a brilliant team name when you don't even have to know the reference to think it's funny.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's an A+ team name.
What's it from?
It's from Broken Arrow.
Christian.
It's from me talking
John
about
Travolta.
people who don't like me because of things I say.
Yeah, it's the way that I often, I've thought it in my head during our hours and hours and hours of conversation.
What about the hours of conversation before the podcast actually starts, Heath? How about that?
That was 12 minutes of conversation. Heath, I hope you're excited to do Fantasy Football Today in 5 after the show. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, compound fracture of his ankle. I was actually, we were actually on the air, me, Will Brinson, and Nando DeFino with DeMarcus Ware when that happened. And he was sitting there obviously pulling for the Cowboys and just so upset to see it. We all were, but as an NFL player who's seen so much, his heart was breaking basically for Dak Prescott. And then see him being carted off in tears was really upsetting. Cowboys luckily have one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Andy Dalton drove them down the field, won the game for them, thanks to Michael Gallup as well. 111 yards, 9 of 11 passing, and might be certainly in 2 quarterback leagues, huge waiver wire pickup, Andy Dalton. But let's talk about how this affects the rest of the Cowboys pass catchers and what you expect from them rest of the season. Dave, I'll let you kick it off.
I'm nervous because we know that while Dak isn't a perfect passer, he definitely has his moments of inaccuracy. Andy Dalton does too. I mean, we made a whole running joke on FFT and certainly on this podcast about good Andy and bad Andy, and sometimes he's just on fire and he's having a great game, and sometimes he's absolutely awful and he costs his team the game. Now, I was in Cincinnati. This is maybe a little bit different of a story. He's got great coaching in Dallas, but the offensive line isn't so great. He's not nearly as mobile as Dak Prescott. I would imagine that this will not be great for the pass catchers there. They will probably not have a chance to truly reach the ceilings that we might have thought they could have had with Dak Prescott as their quarterback.
That's true. Well, I just don't think it's going to bury them. There's too many mouths to feed, and the offense isn't going to produce 6,000 yards of offense now. So that somebody's going to get cut out. I'm not sure we know who it is. Seems like he likes Michael Gallup. Okay. I just think that, like Andy Dalton, like you said it well, Adam, he is one of the better backups in the league. He's a serviceable starting quarterback. It's a good system with elite weapons. I still expect them to be an above average offense.
I think if you want to be optimistic, let's take a look at Kenny Goliday and Marvin Jones. Okay. 8 games. Let's start with Goliday. 8 games with Stafford, 640 yards, 7 touchdowns. 8 games without Stafford, 550 yards, 4 touchdowns. Is that as good? No. It's 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns on 108 targets. That was with some really bad quarterback play. Marvin Jones, with Stafford, he had 244 yards and 3 touchdowns. And without Stafford, he was not as – he got hurt in some of those games, I think. So he only played 5 games without Stafford. But, Terry McLaurin, right? You go from one quarterback to the next, and Haskins didn't throw him as many touchdowns, but the yards were about the same last year. I'm not going to talk about what happened today with McLaurin.
And like all of these guys had much worse backup quarterbacks than the Cowboys.
Exactly. And their production was going to go down anyway, as a whole, because Dak at one point was on pace for like 7,000 yards and had thrown for 450 yards in 3 straight games, and nobody had ever done that before. But Michael Gallup didn't do anything until the last drive. Do we have to hang on to him after he ends up with a pretty good game?
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, you gotta hang on to him, and he's probably the perfect bench receiver, actually, because you're not actually going to feel comfortable starting him. We got 3 teams on a bye next week, I believe. I don't actually understand what the schedule is at all anymore. We'll have more than 3 at some week in the future, whenever they tell us who's playing those weeks. And he's the guy that you plug in, and regardless of what his projection is, you know that he can make your week with one play. And that's the type of bench receiver you want.
How can we have 3 teams on a bye?
The Patriots had a bye and no longer have a bye next week.
But that means one team is like you need.
So we must have 4 teams on a bye, or we have 2. I don't actually know.
It was the hardest thing today. I don't like it's insane.
The best thing, I said this, Dave, when we were doing the Twitch this afternoon. I said the guy I really feel sorry for is Dave Richard, because I know you've got your laminated schedule paper that you have throughout the year that's very helpful, and it is completely worthless now. You can burn it.
I knew better than to laminate the schedule this year. I got the spreadsheet open. I really don't have a complete week 6 for it quite yet, but I'm working on it. All
right, so let's just go one by one. Let's take a more. Oh, okay, actually, let's cross this off the list. Maybe value down a little bit with Zeke, but still Zeke, right?
Maybe value up. They might not throw quite as much.
Maybe. Okay. Mari Cooper. At this point, would you take Cooper or Beckham?
Cooper.
I think I'm going to say Cooper, but I think it's also extremely close.
Okay.
To the point where I think Cooper's ceiling might be close to what Beckham has been to this point this season, cumulatively.
Cooper or McLaurin?
I think I'm going to go McLaurin.
Yeah, I think I'll go McLaurin.
Okay. CeeDee Lamb or Odell Beckham? Lamb had another big game today.
Beckham.
Lamb.
Wow.
CeeDee Lamb or
I must be overvaluing the hell out of Odell Beckham at this point.
CeeDee Lamb or DJ Chark?
Chark got hurt. We don't know how severe the injury is.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one's pretty obvious. I think if Chark is fine, you'll go with him, and if he's not, then Lamb's the pick. Unless Heath, did you just say Lamb?
Yeah, I'll say Lamb. He's healthy.
Okay. Well, okay, fine then. I was. How about Devonte Parker or CeeDee Lamb?
Parker.
Yeah, I think Parker.
Okay, Michael Gallup or Marvin Jones?
Gallup.
Michael Gallup or an emerging Christian Kirk?
Gallup.
I might say Kirk.
That was super. Like, I may have missed a couple of fourth quarter touchdowns from Christian Kirk or something.
Well, he had like 70 yards today. What is the Jets?
Okay, like the way you said emerging Christian Kirk, I thought he was like.
Well, the last 2 weeks he's been a little more involved in what Arizona's doing.
Touchdown last week, 70 yards this week.
7 targets this week, same as Nuke Hopkins.
How about Darius Slayton or Michael Gallup?
Slayton.
Okay. All right. Well, that's your Cowboys talk. We'll get more into it tomorrow on the show. Let's go to this question. Who is your top waiver wire priority going into week 6?
Is there maybe there is. I don't think there is a debate. I think
Gerald Everett.
Chase Claypool. That was the type of performance that just like any priors you had, we're going to throw those out the window now. He got 11 targets. He had 3 carries. He scored 4 touchdowns. It was his second splash week in 4 games. And he just has to be universally rostered now and probably started in most leagues next week. And we'll see what the role is moving forward.
Next week is Cleveland, then at Tennessee. I think this is one team whose schedule has not been altered, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dave, if Chase Claypool's
their schedule was altered. They didn't play last week.
Okay, yes. I meant,
and they moved the Ravens game and changed it.
I meant after the postponements, after this week's postponement.
Okay.
And all their Steelers' schedule was not altered today. Dave, if Chase Claypool's number 1, who is number 2? Who's the other waiver wire priority?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say it's Travis Fulgham because I'm not sure if he's going to still be a big part of the Philadelphia offense. I am very tempted to say the Chargers DST because they've got the Jets next week, and the Jets looked awful.
Do they now have the Jets, or do they?
Maybe they don't. They don't have the Jets next week. That's my bad. The Dolphins have the Jets.
Fooled you.
I got fooled. They might be on bye. See, this is why I probably should have done the whole schedule fixing really before the podcast. Now I feel like a total heel.
How about Kirk Cousins maybe against Atlanta? All right, you know what? It's Chase Claypool, and we got all week or the next 2 days to talk about the
Cousins would be up there. Ryan Fitzpatrick now has the Jets. That's who he's got.
Over under 26 passes for Cousins against the Falcons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're watching the game right now, and they've been running and shutting out the Seahawks in the first half. So
yay.
All right, here's a segment I call LOL, and it's the schedule. The Broncos and Patriots will be played in Week 6. The Chiefs-Bills moves from Thursday to Monday Night Football Week 6. The Jets-Dolphins goes from Week 10 to Week 6. The Jets-Chargers goes from Week 6 to Week 11.
You lost me.
The Jaguars-Chargers goes from Week 8 to Week 7. The Chargers-Broncos goes from Week 11 to Week 8. The Chargers-Dolphins from Week 7 to Week 10. And the Dolphins-Broncos from Week 6 to Week 11. What? Makes no sense. Why would they change all these schedules? But that's what – no, I mean, I get it. That's what's happening.
So it sounds like the Chargers are on bye in Week 6?
I think so.
I know the Chiefs and Bills game got moved back to Monday.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll figure it out. You should be watching us on YouTube. You should also be watching all of our Twitch streams because they're awesome. But youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. One thing I learned today on our Twitch stream, reheating pizza in a frying pan on your stovetop is terrific. Somebody told me to do it. I did it for dinner. I'm never going back. It was excellent. Medium heat, put the cover on, just a few minutes. It's wonderful. So twitch.com/.
How did I not know that?
I know. It was so good.
Scott Fish posted a picture of a bigger than you could imagine pizza on Twitter and said, you've got to find 3 fantasy analysts to help you finish this pizza for $1 million. And everybody tagged me. So now I know what my legacy is in the fantasy football industry. It's not trade charts. It's not deep sleepers. It's you're the big fat pizza guy. Thank you. I accept.
All right. It's time for buy or sell. Buy or sell. We should be a little bit worried about Lamar Jackson, who has now scored less than 20 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you drafted him in the first 2 rounds, probably should be a little bit worried.
You can be worried if you drafted him in the 3rd round too. I mean, he's still not giving you amazing numbers in this year of amazing fantasy quarterbacks.
I do feel confident that he's going to be a top 3 or 4 quarterback rest of season. And I do feel confident he's going to be an elite difference maker still. So I think I'd probably mostly sell.
Okay. How about this buy or sell? Mike Davis is going to be a thorn in Christian McCaffrey's side.
I could buy it for like a week when McCaffrey comes back and the Panthers just want to take it easy on him.
Yeah,
not
they
the rest of the season.
gave 7 carries to other quotes running back because of Curtis Samuel. He lined up there in this game. Like, I don't think Christian McCaffrey's going to see the same workload he did last year. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year, but I still think he's going to be a top 5 running back. So I can't say that Davis is going to be a thorn this side.
Buy or sell. You should be excited to start Todd Gurley every week.
No. Sell
the word excited.
But you should start Todd Gurley every week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. This was probably just from the clips I saw, on Red Zone, the best I've seen Todd Gurley look. He was terrific. 14 carries, 121 yards and a touchdown. Also had 4 catches. And coming into the game, how many catches did he have? Like 4 catches coming into the game, I think. So,
I can look it up, but it's something like that.
Yeah. So that was nice to see. And another win for Carolina. So that was nice for them. Not so much.
He had exactly 4 catches for 9 yards coming into the game. 4 for 29 on 5 targets. That was through the air for Gurley. So good on Atlanta to try and change something.
By the way, Mike Davis, just go back to Mike Davis. He has scored 23, 22, and 29 PPR fantasy points in his last 3 games. He has 30 catches in his last 4 games. Unbelievable. What a waiver wire pickup.
I cannot believe you just called Christian McCaffrey a system running back.
Zach Ertz is a bust. Buy or sell. 1 catch for 6 yards, 15 yards in his last 2 games.
Buy.
I don't know how you could do anything other than buy. Yeah, good for them for, I guess, not giving him the contract that he wanted.
You guys ever seen Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood?
Mm-hmm.
Hurry up and buy. Zach Ertz. Okay, so bad game for him. So what do you think about, like, he's been a bust so far. Is he going to continue to be a bust going forward?
Yes.
It's hard to believe he's going to go back to what he was previously, even when Philadelphia gets their receiving core to moderate health. The offensive line is a nightmare, and Lane Johnson got carted off in this game. So there's a chance he could miss some time. Wentz is on the move constantly. He's getting hit constantly, and he's finding other guys now besides Ertz and Greg Ward. I mean, he found Greg Ward. Ward had the touchdown, and we've already talked about Fulgham a little bit. I'm thinking that Ertz is he's just not going to get that volume that we were counting on. I think he's going to be a dud.
Okay. The problem, like, okay, fine. Dalton Schultz or Zach Ertz rest of season. Like, Schultz's stock just went down.
Ertz. Once again, tight end's not deep. No. Tight end sucks, as usual.
Is Ertz you would rank him ahead of the touchdown or bust tight ends in a given week?
Where does that start now? 7?
It might start at 7, but I'm just trying to find a starting point for what we call him. He hasn't scored since week 1.
He almost hit an almost touchdown, so that's cool. He was down at the 1. But all right, so obviously he's not
6 yards.
He's not top 4. We know who the top 4 are.
He might be a bust even if he had scored on that play.
You've got Dalton Schultz. You've got Jonnu Smith. You've got Noah Fant.
I would take Jonnu over him. Fant,
yes.
Is Fant going to go on IR?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they would have put him on already if they thought he was going to miss 3 weeks. They'd be dumb if they did it now.
I'd probably take Hawkinson over him.
Oh, okay.
I think they might be kind of the same guy.
All right.
Bust, man. It sucks. I hate it. I hate it for Zach Ertz. And on the plus side, if I have to say something nice about him, he has 1 game this year with 5 or fewer targets, and it was 5 targets. So at least he's getting a decent diet of targets, but things are not great for the Philadelphia offense, I'm afraid.
Okay. Well, it's been disappointing, and you thought maybe the targets would go up. I'm wondering if he's just getting smothered with coverage these last 2.
No, that did not happen against San Francisco.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the game yet against Pittsburgh, but I would imagine that defenses don't fear him like they used to. That's based on what I saw against the Niners.
Well, guys, we have a new sponsor, and I'm pretty excited about the sponsor. All right. It's Express Clothing. And I've been an Express Clothing guy for many years now. My brother used to wear it. I was like, oh, I like that stuff. That stuff is awesome. So first, I'm going to tell you what the offer is. Text football to 397-737 and get $25 off your $50 purchase. 397-737. Text football and get $25 off your $50 purchase. All right. So this is the new Express. Okay. It's all about you with a fresh assortment of casual, versatile, and super comfortable styles. And, most athletic men, most taller men don't think Express can fit them. But if you go to their website, you're going to see their Luxe Comfort Knit collection, their performance shirts. These are shirts. This is a collection that would fit anyone. So it's very versatile stuff, and it's really awesome. And I think it's extremely exciting. Right now, I'm looking at their dress shirts. The price it's unbelievable. And they're really nice looking. They're classy looking, and they look very comfortable as well. And that's what you're getting here. You're getting breathable, moisture wicking, easy care, and stretch shirts here. The styles are a lot of variety. You'll find something that you really love. So this is extremely exciting for us to have a new sponsor, and for it to be something that I'm actually pretty passionate about, and I've been wearing for a long time. It's great. Now, you need to feel confident when you put your clothes on, right? It's a big difference. You walk out the door and you're wearing something that you love, something that you're going to get compliments on. It's a boost for you. and it impacts your day and it impacts your goals. So my favorite thing I would say about Express is that, you can get something for a really good price, and it looks, I'm not gonna like it. It looks really, really nice. It doesn't look like something that you pay like $40 for if you're looking at the discounts on the website right now. The comfort is outstanding. The style is outstanding, and you're just going to feel better and more confident in it. So again, I want you to text football to 397-737, 397-737, text football and get $25 off your $50 purchase at Express. And thanks a lot to Express for hopping on as a sponsor. And I'm looking forward to taking advantage of this offer. All right, guys, let's do some news and notes other than Dak Prescott. Deonte Johnson left in the first half with a back injury. You guys can give me updates if you've got them.
Sure.
AJ Green left with a hamstring injury. Jimmy Garoppolo was benched. This was more, it seemed like precautionary, just they were getting blown out, and why aggravate the injury, but he was bad, really bad.
Very bad.
Michael Thomas is not going to play because he punched someone, a teammate. So he got an altercation with a teammate, and he's not going to play on Monday night. DJ Chark, ankle injury. Sammy Watkins, hamstring injury. Kyle Allen left after taking a big hit, and then he just didn't come back. Like, he was cleared to return, but they stuck with Alex Smith.
Didn't Washington say it was an arm injury?
So that's what I saw after the game. At the time, I think everybody thought it was a head injury, right?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, then I saw arm after. But either way, he was cleared to come back in, and they rode with Alex Smith. And they did not win.
He got sacked a ton.
Yeah, they get the Giants next week, and the Giants defense exposed in this game against the Cowboys.
Yeah, not great. Say something nice, Adam.
About who?
I don't know. Just keep going with the notes. Say something,
I'll tell you something nice, man. I brought this up on Twitch. I know, like, not everybody who listens to watch Twitch. I am so excited for Trevor Lawrence to play in the NFL. He is going to take the league by storm. He is going to be one of the best quarterbacks we have seen in so long, and whoever has the number one pick should take him. There are like maybe two teams, like the Chiefs, if they somehow get the number one pick, should not take him.
I think the Chiefs have been eliminated from that.
Yeah, probably not quite, but yes, probably. But I was just talking because we were talking about the Giants Cowboys game today. That was our Twitch game. If the Giants get the number one pick, they have to take Trevor Lawrence.
Yes,
I would be so.
Absolutely do. But that's not a news and note.
Dan Quinn is going to get fired. Is that what
there it is?
You say? No, we don't celebrate that. But
I know. Unless it's Bill O'Brien.
No, we don't celebrate that.
Dan Quinn was cool. We've been to these owners meetings before where the coaches have their breakfast, and Dan Quinn was one of the cool guys there. So it stinks for him, but it's kind of his fault that the team's 0-5. That defense has been good for a long time, and he's in charge of it.
There were a couple of Cleveland Browns injuries late in the game. Kareem Hunt was being stretched out on the final drive. Doesn't seem serious. And Baker Mayfield had x-rays on his ribs, which came back negative. They're at Pittsburgh next week. I'm going to predict 18 fantasy points for him because Baker Mayfield has scored exactly 18 fantasy points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, 4 straight games. We're going to talk about Brandon Cooks in just a bit. He's a winner. Big game for him. His start percentage in his 2 good games, 3%. And 8%. Very disappointing. Chandler Jones is out for the season for the Cardinals. That's a big blow. They're at Dallas next week. Let's see. Brian Burns, pass rusher for the Panthers. He left with an injury. Fletcher Cox got hurt. Darius Slay got hurt. I have not seen updates on them. Try to get them for you on Monday.
Eagles got just decimated by injury today. Cox, Slay, Lane Johnson left. I think linebacker Duke Riley left.
Giants linebacker Lorenzo Carter was cartered off the field early in the game.
Oh, you're making jokes now.
No, I should have. That was so bad. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry for saying something about Dan Quinn.
You're right. I shouldn't have done that.
This is the most tasteless podcast we've ever done.
And that's about all I got. Robert Woods, 56-yard touchdown catch, second longest of his career. Jordan Howard was a healthy scratch. I'm going to call Myles Gaskin a winner. Myles Gaskin was a winner.
Heath is about to go through the roof.
All right, let's do winners. In fact, we can start with Heath's winners. Heath stealing Myles Gaskin from me, even though you told me 30 minutes ago. Heath, Myles Gaskin, why is he a winner?
He was a winner before the game even started because Jordan Howard was a healthy scratch. And Jordan Howard is like the reason that Myles Gaskin has not quite been a fantasy sensation this season. He's the clear lead running back for the Miami Dolphins, and now he's going to get some short yardage work as well. He gets 4 or 5 targets every week. I will be moving Myles Gaskin into like top 20 territory on a weekly basis starting now.
If it's in full PPR, I'm with you. He's had 5 catches 3 of his last 4 games. And now this is the second time in 3 weeks that the Dolphins have been in a game where they've played with the lead. And he's had at least 15 carries in each of those games. And yeah, if they're just going to keep leaving Jordan Howard on the inactive list, this is going to be great for Gaskin. He had a short yardage touchdown today, and he could have more in the future.
Okay, trivia question about Myles Gaskin. Who is he playing next week?
We don't know.
Yeah, he's playing the Jets.
We do know. He's
playing the Jets.
Yeah. And so how many carries did he had? 16 carries today, right? So they've won 2 games, and those 2 games, 22 carries and 16 carries.
Mm-hmm. I just got done talking about how
those were all games. The things Dave just said. It's super helpful when you emphasize our points.
I was looking up his schedule. Kareem Hunt is your other winner.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of question about how much work Dearness Johnson would get and what type of split there would be. And the answer was until Hunt got cramps or maybe pulled something. I don't know. It looked like it was just cramps. They didn't really share at all. It was almost all Kareem Hunt. And when it came to touching the football, and the averages weren't very good, but this Colts run defense has been one of the best run defenses in the league so far. So a very, very encouraging workload for him, and we will move forward with him as a top 3 to 6 running back, depending on what you think.
And if you missed Heath last week, that's actually softening the stance on Kareem Hunt.
I was trying to make room for. I was trying to get a consensus. I knew if I said a top 3 running back, that I would get a little pushback. So I was just saying 3 to 6 to try to move through it.
I was a little disappointed with the efficiency and the fact that he couldn't have more than 10 yards rushing, but I think you got to give credit to the Colts in that regard. And I want to give credit to the Browns too for leaning on him pretty hard. I like it. It's good.
Yeah. His touchdown catch was really pretty awesome.
It was a great play by Baker too.
Yeah.
Play broke down. He had to move to buy time last second. He throws it a little high, and Hunt does his best impersonation of a wide receiver, climbs the ladder, gets the ball, touchdown.
All right, Dave, your winners are Derek Carr. I believe has had 24 or more fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games.
It's true. He played fantastic against Kansas City. He made some unbelievable deep throws. And the only reason why they're unbelievable is because Derek Carr isn't known for being a deep ball thrower. But today he did. He had 3 of them. They were at least 3 of them, actually. He had let's call it 3. He was on target with all 3 of them. Now let's call it 4 because Ruggs had 2. He was great. He was great. I hope it continues. And it's too bad that he's, I think, on bye next week.
Yes.
So,
maybe.
Okay, their schedule wasn't impacted by the COVID fiasco.
The only teams that played today.
COVID scheduling fiasco. Let me please correct myself. Thank you.
The teams that played today whose schedules were impacted were the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Just tell me if the Raiders schedule was affected.
No,
Good.
I thought the biggest thing for Carr was like Ruggs didn't get very many targets, but the first play he made was just all Ruggs. Carr was lucky that ball wasn't picked off. It was into traffic, and Ruggs just made basically took it away from the defender. Mm-hmm. And then the second play, man, he's just so much faster than everyone else on the field when he got behind the defense, and that changes the equation for Derek Carr if he has a guy he can trust to go make a play like that in traffic and to run away from the defense.
But we were worried coming into the year that there wouldn't be a lot of that because Carr was a good, efficient deep ball passer. The metrics prove that. He just didn't take a lot of chances, especially compared to the majority of the other quarterbacks that are out there. Now it looks like he's taking a few more chances. That makes perfect sense given the fact that the team drafted Ruggs. And when this offense is as healthy as it gets, which is pretty much what they're at now, Ruggs is stretching defenses. It opens things up for other players in the offense, and Carr is connecting. It's really great to see, and I think there are going to be weeks where we do find Derek Carr in our top 12 rankings at quarterback.
Okay, yeah, he's on a bye, then he gets the Bucks, and then at Cleveland. Brandon Cooks. All right, so what do we do with Brandon Cooks? 12 targets, 8 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. I really need to just point out, like, Jacksonville's defense is bad. No question. It's really bad. And he's had 2 good games, Brandon Cooks, and he was started in 3% of leagues against Baltimore and only 8% of leagues today. And he's only rostered in 69% of leagues, so you could actually potentially pick him up. Scheduled to play Tennessee next week. What do we do with Brandon Cooks, Dave?
I think you buy into the changes that were on display in this game. It's the first one without Bill O'Brien's influence. And now here's Brandon Cooks running great routes, seeing a season high in targets. It's a second game of the year with 8+ targets. It's actually a second game of the year with 6+ targets. So getting Brandon Cooks more involved and kind of spreading the ball. Really, it sounds silly to say that the Texans were spreading the ball around when one of their guys had 12 targets, but it's what they did. They got more players involved, and leaning on Cooks, it's something they may not do every single week, but I think it just kind of lets everybody know, hey, Brandon Cooks is a great player. And it wasn't just one catch that was amazing. You know, he didn't have a 60-yard bomb or something like that. He had a lot of big catches, and he's still a good football player, and he's healthy right now. I think you've got to consider him a number 3 receiver moving forward at the very least, and maybe at the most, but still somebody who warrants consideration. Whereas coming into the week, obviously people were looking at him going, what am I doing with this guy?
Okay. Would you take Brandon Cooks or Michael Gallup?
I'm ready to say Cooks.
Yeah, but they are in the same range for sure.
I think Cooks could have a target edge over Gallup. And we know he's got a quarterback edge over Gallup.
Let's go to Heath's losers. Jerick McKinnon, who had 3 touches, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who had 5 targets and is extremely disappointing and makes me want to never play fantasy football again.
I am actually in the middle of that section of the article. So that was going to be the believe it or not, but it can also be the loser. We'll come up with something else, not Chase Claypool or Juju Smith-Schuster related from that game. Listen, there's just no other way to spin it. And I was the Juju guy for most of the offseason, and I will still say historically, if you bet on players who did what Juju did at his age to become elite wide receivers, unless they're Juju Smith-Schuster, they generally do. But they're not treating him, and he still might. Like, I don't want to rule him out or anything, but they're not treating him like that at all. Deonte Johnson dominated him in targets the first 2 weeks, 23-14. Johnson has gotten hurt each of the last 2 weeks, and Schuster has fallen from 2nd to 3rd in target share over those 2 weeks. It makes no sense at all to me, but I think he's going to be a bust.
Ugh, sucks. And McKinnon, drop him?
I wouldn't drop him yet, but it is pretty tempting because the thing is, like, the worry would have been coming into this game, well, they're playing the Dolphins. They're going to be ahead and not going to be a game script for Jerick McKinnon. It was a perfect game script for Jerick McKinnon, and they didn't give him the football.
Yeah. I wouldn't drop him until Tevin Coleman is back, and that might happen soon. And it's clear that Coleman is the next guy behind Mostert. That's the only time when I'm ready to drop McKinnon, because if Coleman's gone for 2 more weeks and Mostert gets knocked out of a game again, you know who's going to get the majority of the work in this run game.
But we have, I think, 4 teams now on bye. It's going up every time we talk on bye this week. And there are lots of injured players that you like. There's a chance. Let's just say this: Jerick McKinnon's not somebody you're going to start next week, and he's on your bench, and he's your worst player. That's not on a.
Then you got to do what you got to do. I understand.
Would you rather have Chase Claypool on your bench or Jerick McKinnon?
Oh, I'd rather have Claypool at this point, unless I was loaded at receiver.
I mean, I agree with Dave. I don't want to drop McKinnon, but I do think that there are people that probably should drop McKinnon.
Would you rather have Chase Edmonds or Jerick McKinnon?
Edmonds. I would rather have Edmonds. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Dave's losers are Zach Ertz, who we talked about, and Malcolm Brown. And let's just talk about the Rams running backs. And Malcolm Brown, 8 carries. It's not like Henderson set the world on fire, but I actually thought he ran pretty well despite the numbers. But 2 touchdowns for Henderson and a dud for Brown.
Well, he had a terrible rushing average. Henderson did.
But did you, I mean, He looked.
No. He looked fine, and obviously
you can't
the
stop being
carries matter.
YPC for life now.
I'm not YPC for life. Like Le'Veon Bell had a good YPC. Le'Veon Bell is a slug. He looked terrible. There was a play on like 3rd and 1 where he tried to get to the outside. It took him 45 minutes. I read a book and he still wasn't there. And then he got tackled short of the line of scrimmage. I didn't read a book, but
he had 50% more rushing yards than Daryl Henderson on fewer carries. Then again, so did Cam Akers.
Right. And that's the thing. And like Daryl Henderson is a much better running back than Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion. Right now. I feel confident saying that. I truly do.
I felt like every time Le'Veon had a carry, he was doing his, that hesitation step. The basketball coach that coaches my son calls it a hezzy. He's basically skipping before trying to hit his hole. And I don't know if that's just how he runs now. Steelers fans might say he did that all the time in Pittsburgh, but that might have helped him see the hole better when the offensive line was making it for him. And now the Jets are they're just such a sloppy mess up front that it's hard to do. And he only had the one catch. If you're asking me if I'd rather have Henderson or Bell moving forward, I think I might take my chances with Henderson because having Jets on my team make me want to.
Well, I'm not talking about fantasy. I'm talking about on your football team. Who would you rather have, Henderson or Bell?
Well, of course I'd rather have Henderson because he's younger.
Yeah. Right.
If I was the Chiefs, I would rather have Le'Veon Bell and Daryl Henderson.
Okay. Well, I'm saying I don't really care about YPC. That's all I'm trying to say, Heath. But Dave, your quick take on the
that's a change
in this particular case.
I mean, we're probably going to find out that Malcolm Brown, if he did lead the team in snaps, it might not mean anything moving forward. It was disappointing. He also had a not so great game from an efficiency standpoint. He had one catch and went backwards for 6 yards, and Akers looked good. I'm not certain how many of the carries Akers had was late in the game. This was a blowout win for LA, but we're going to, study it all again and try and come up with an answer for who the better running back is moving forward. But hopefully what it means to see Malcolm Brown be 3rd in carries is a sign that he's starting to fade into that 3rd spot on the depth chart, and that we'll see more of Akers and Henderson moving forward.
It was a lot of garbage time for Akers, right, Heath? And we established that on Twitch.
Yes, I believe it was at least half of his carries came well after the game had been decided.
Well, look, I've got the 4th quarter stats right here. He had 4 carries for 42 yards with a long of 46 yards in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, it was all at the end. Pretty much all at the end.
Okay, so that doesn't make me feel a whole lot better about trying to handicap which Rams running back is the best of the bunch.
It doesn't?
Yeah.
Malcolm Brown.
That 46-yard carry, just to be clear, came with the score 30-10 with 5:37 left to go.
Yeah, no, Daryl Henderson was the guy, for most of that game. He had 18 touches, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I can see if I've got a snap count for him now. We sometimes get snap counts before the NFL releases them.
All right.
If I get something, I'll interrupt you.
All right. You know what? Usually we do the top 5 at every position. Let's just go right to the games, Heath. Let's go right to the games.
We do have some breaking news that the Falcons have fired Dan Quinn and general manager Thomas Dimitroff.
They fired Dimitroff too.
From Tom Pelissero.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting that they fired Dimitroff in the middle of the season.
Houston 30, Jacksonville 14. Heath? Hi.
Oh, are we doing Believe It or Not now?
Pretty sure you just said that. Are you kind of frozen from the Falcons news?
Yeah, I was just stunned. Believe it or not, Brandon Cooks is better than Will Fuller rest of the season.
No.
Why would I believe that?
He was a lot better than Will Fuller today.
He was.
We
now have 4 games of Fuller being better than Cooks and one. Well, I guess there's 2.
No, I believe it's 3-2.
It's 3-2. That's fine. I'm still going to say.
And I think
Fuller's
Cooks now has more targets for the year than Will Fuller does.
I don't believe it.
But I don't believe it anyway.
In a worse game for Fuller, he still had 58 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been fortunate so far that he has timed his touchdowns well. Because if you look at his yardage production, like it's 112, 0, 54, 108, 58.
You have to say 112 because it sounded like you gave him 3 games with 1, then 12, then 0.
Well, no one else is dumb. So I think that probably was conveyed the right way. Okay, so what's the buy or sell, Adam?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, do you believe it or not that Cooks is better?
No, but I'm back to kind of where I was, that they're both boom or bust number threes. Because I know he scored a touchdown the 2 weeks that he had 50 receiving yards, but in 3 of 5 games, Will Fuller has 4 catches or fewer.
Buy or sell, Gardner Minshew is going to be top 3 in pass attempts.
Buy, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah. This is now 4 straight games with 40 or more pass attempts. You got to love it.
Yeah, I guess, he's currently tied for 4th with Tom Brady.
Okay. David Johnson ended up with 17 carries for 96 yards, but a little deceiving, right?
Yeah, he had a bunch of yards at the end of the game, and they basically tried to get him over 100 yards. It would have been the first time, I believe, in over a year where he'd run for 100 yards in a game. He came close. He was all right. He's starting to look a little bit like the slug version of David Johnson that you might remember from Arizona in 2019.
And last note on this game, David Johnson was open in the end zone and was missed.
Yes, he was.
Was there one other player I wanted to talk about in this game? Just a quick note on James Robinson. Not his best game. He had that fumble on that really strange play call. But 5 catches. It's, encouraging stuff, and we'll just chalk it up to
Keelan Cole looked really good and almost had a monster game. They had a couple of shots to him at the end of the game when they were trying to come back. And
3 targets in a row. You're right.
Just out of his reach. Mm-hmm. One of them, he said, was his fault. One of them was Minshew's fault. But I think he's still relevant.
I think it comes down to whether or not Chark is healthy. If Chark isn't healthy, then I think Cole is still going to get. I think that's what the key is for Cole.
Okay. All right.
If Chark's there, then
Cincinnati's at Baltimore. Bengals had the ball. Bengals had the ball for like 9 more minutes than the Ravens did. But it didn't matter. Joe Burrow had a terrible game. He scored 4 fantasy points. He apparently was not friends with Patrick Queen on LSU. And Queen knocked the heck out of him and forced the fumble. So that must have been satisfying. Joe Mixon, was this a good game for him or a bad game for him?
Oh, no.
Believe it or not, this was actually an encouraging outing for Joe Mixon.
We'll get to the no after the game, after we review this game. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I think it definitely was. 6 catches, second consecutive week with 6 catches. Giovanni Bernard's been pushed just a little bit further off into the peripheral, and I'm encouraged about Mixon. I might do the rare buy low, sell high, buy low with Joe Mixon.
This was one of his toughest matchups left on the schedule. He never really does well against either the Ravens or the Steelers, and I believe it's, assuming the schedule doesn't change, one of those matchups against the Steelers or the Ravens is tucked into week 17.
Ravens.
Yeah. So he's done with the Ravens if your championship is in week 16, and he's got some great matchups moving forward.
Oh, no.
Somebody, yeah, you're seeing what I'm seeing. If you find somebody who thinks that Mixon's regressed, you could take him off their hands, maybe for a discount. Are we done talking about this game?
I think we should talk about Dalvin Cook.
You got hurt?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Unless you know for a fact that he's out for a while. But you don't. So we'll talk about it tomorrow.
No, we don't know. We don't know that.
Alexander Madison is at it. I don't even know.
Listen, he pulled up lame. He made a catch, and it looks like I don't know what it is. I don't want leg.
Madison.
Right, and then he's off to the locker room.
72% rostered for Madison. They got Atlanta next week, then a bye. And that stinks. We'll talk about it on Monday's show. AJ Green got hurt. No catches, 1 target, 84% rostered. I think
it's over.
Goodbye to him. Believe it or not, buy or sell. T. Higgins is a must-start wide receiver.
When the matchup's right, I buy it. And there's going to be some good ones coming up.
That's a sell then.
Why?
Yeah, a must start and a matchup dependent are not the same thing.
Okay, fine. I'm just trying to be nice to T. Higgins.
Okay, buy or sell. It's time to drop J.K. Dobbins.
No, sell.
I can't sell.
No.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing I'm looking for in a running back, it's 3 touches a game.
Listen, maybe like you would drop him before you drop Jerick McKinnon?
No.
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 I wouldn't drop him to pick up Chase Claypool unless I was in a pinch and actually need a starting receiver.
I agree.
But here's the thing. You're kind of acting like if Mark Ingram got hurt, Gus Edwards wouldn't have a big role.
No, but Adam, at least it would be split 2 ways instead of 3. And I think it would come to pass that as efficient as Gus Edwards has been, J.K. Dobbins just gives the Ravens more. He's a better receiver out of the backfield than Gus Edwards. He's he's definitely faster than Gus Edwards.
He has 198 yards on 25 touches.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right, that's it. Let's go to the Rams 30 and the football team 10. Another big time of possession game here. The Rams had the ball for about 11 more minutes than Washington did. Heath, what do we got? Rams 30, football team 10.
Believe it or not, there's not one running back in this game you should be gullible enough to start again.
I don't know. I thought it was a good day for Gibson. He had 5 catches again. He had 4 last week. That was nice. Dave, what do you say? Believe it or not, not a running back in this game you should start.
I don't believe it. We know what the running back position is like. And Gibson might be the one that I would be most willing to start, and it's not with a lot of confidence moving forward, but it's just because the Rams running backs were and will continue to be a jumbled mess. I've got the snap percentages if you're interested.
Sure.
This was the first week of the season where Brown was not tied or ahead in the lead of playing time for the Rams. It was Henderson, 43% to 38%, Akers, 19%. What does that mean? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if I could recommend starting any of these 3 anytime soon. This is another backfield like Baltimore's where it would be great if one of them won Powerball and bought an island and lived there.
At the very least, they run it all the time. Those 3 guys combined for 32 carries. So, at least you're going to get some work there. Buy or sell high on Robert Woods.
If you can, sure.
He says no. What would you want, Dave? How do you value him?
If I could turn him into, let's say Tyler Lockett ends up having another bad game. At this point, he's halfway through. He's not doing so hot. If it ended up coming to pass that he stunk and I could turn Woods into Lockett, I would take that.
You'd rather have him than Beckham, though, right?
I think so.
Okay. Buy or sell?
I know so.
Alex Smith will be bad news for Terry McLaurin.
He could be bad news for Antonio Gibson, too, just being honest.
Well, are you buying the McLaurin part of it?
Yeah.
Look,
maybe Alex Smith was just really rusty.
Yeah.
We know that he didn't have a ton of time to, go through the same type of camp as others did.
There are some good players on the Rams team. They sacked him like 9 times or something.
Right.
I
don't feel like he was ready. So maybe he can come back from it. Maybe he just needs to knock off the rust, and in a week or 2 he'll be, raring to go, and it'll be vintage Alex Smith, whatever that.
Yeah, he's not.
It's better than what we saw today.
This is like when you take your kids to the amusement park, and he's not trying to get on. He doesn't have to be tall enough to get on the scariest ride. The bar is extremely low to be as good a quarterback as Terry McLaurin has been accustomed to in his career.
Very good. Alex Smith was 9 of 17 for 37 yards. Yikes. And how many sacks in this game?
He had the same average as Daryl Henderson.
Times, and Kyle Allen was sacked twice. Daryl Henderson slightly more, 2.5 yards per carry for Henderson, 2.2 yards per attempt for Alex Smith. Did you guys catch Le'Veon Bell, by the way? Am I crazy?
No, he didn't look great.
I didn't
he
watch
hasn't looked
any
great
of the
since he was wearing black and gold, though.
Yeah, no, I had that game streaming as I watched Red Zone. I was watching that game because I really wanted to see Kenyon Drake. And Bell I don't know. I actually thought the Cardinals' run defense was just bad, and Bell had a lot of opportunities.
I mean, that's the thing is because I didn't see it, it's really hard for me to take the things that you are saying at face value, because you said earlier that Frank Gore is faster than Le'Veon Bell.
I was joking.
And they were facing the same defense, and Gore had 9 carries to Bell's 13 and half as many yards.
I was joking. Are you kidding? First of all, I said that on Twitch. Secondly, I was joking. He's not. I was making a point about Le'Veon Bell.
Right. It seems to me, and I will go back and watch the tape, but box score scouting, it seems like, man, 60 yards on 13 carries when his longest run was 13 yards.
Go back and watch the tape.
That seems like pretty good.
I promise you a good running back would have had more than 13 yards on a carry in that game. He can't break any. This is what I've been saying about Le'Veon Bell. It's the last time he had an explosive play. It's been like 3 years. He never has explosive plays. He really never does. 3 seasons now without a carry of more than 30 yards, or 2.5.
Yeah. You don't like Le'Veon Bell? I get it.
No, I don't. But I would be interested in your opinion. So please go back and watch his carries and let me know what you think. Las Vegas 40, Kansas City 32.
Believe it or not, we should be worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire being a top 12 running back.
I believe it based on workload. I don't like that he only had 10 carries. And I feel like he's had a couple of games this season where he hasn't had a whole heck of a lot of work overall. I know he had a touchdown called back.
But Dave, I mean, he's
had 10 carries in 2 of 5 games.
But he wasn't splitting carries. They had the ball for 24 minutes.
I believe Daryl Williams played 46% of the snaps.
How many touches did he get?
He did not have very many touches. Okay, but he is their generally their 2-minute back.
Okay.
Look, if he's not a top 12 running back, I think we can accept that. I think he's still close to it. Call him a top 17 running back.
I would like to just present one tiny piece of evidence from before this week, while noting that he had multiple touches in the red zone this week and did not score a touchdown, even though he did have an almost touchdown, had one called back. Mm-hmm. Entering this week, inside the 20, he was 6th in carries inside the 20. And every back in the top 9 had multiple touchdowns. He had 0. Inside the 10, he had 9 carries for 0 yards. Inside the 5, he had 6 carries for -2 yards.
A lot of that was from week 1, though. Remember all those plays where they tried to punch it in and he just...
Right. And the thing since then has been, man, they keep running all these tricky plays at the goal line instead of giving it to Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
So annoying. Yeah.
But they had one in this game where he had a touchdown catch called back, and that was real close to the goal line.
Going into this game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was on pace for 1,732 total yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's why I was very optimistic about him. He's the lead running back. He is a touch dominator. He is involved. After week 1, he did not have any catches in week 1. He's been involved in the passing game in basically every game, and he's just not scoring. He had 80 total yards in this game. For a bad game where he only had 10 carries, he still had 80 total yards.
You don't believe it?
What was it again? That he's not a first-round pick?
We should be concerned about him being a top 12 running back.
Oh, top 12 running back? I'm pretty sure he's going to be a top 12 running back, barring injury.
I hope you're right.
I feel good about it.
You feel better about him or Jonathan Taylor right now?
Edwards-Helaire. A lot more catches.
Yep.
Yeah, they've gone the opposite direction in terms of catches for sure.
All right, let's do another one from this game. Let's go. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, you're typically not going to start any Vegas wide receiver.
Typically, no. So I believe that. But there will be bye weeks where you'll look at Henry Ruggs and say, let's go for it.
Let's believe
strap a rocket to this fantasy lineup and go to the damn moon.
I believe we will get to a point. I think he'll be started more often than not later in the year. So I'll say I don't believe it.
For Ruggs, okay.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh 38, Philadelphia 29.
Oof. We took the Zach Ertz one. We took the Juju Smith-Schuster one.
Talked about Claypool.
The Chase Claypool one.
Heath, you want me to give you one?
Miles Sanders.
Believe it or not, you should pick up that Fulgham guy off the waiver wire. We should talk about that guy, shouldn't we?
He's been pretty good. And Philadelphia keeps finding themselves in
Believe it or not, Dave.
Game script. Yeah, of course you should pick him up off the waiver wire. I believe that.
I don't think I'm going to be doing it. Well, look, I mean, you could get Alshon was sick this week. He could come back next week. Deshaun Jackson could come back at some point. Dallas Goedert could come back at some point. Like,
will come back at some point.
How many times between now and the end of the season are you actually going to be starting Travis Fulgham? I just don't see it.
But don't you want to speculate on somebody who had a lot of targets and a lot of catches and a lot of yards, and he found the end zone? Kind of like Chase Claypool did.
Well, how long is my leash here with the Fulgham jokes?
Oh, please keep them coming.
I'd probably be looking at the waiver wire and being like, Fulgham. I'm like, Fulgham.
That was the joke I was going to make.
Dude, listen. If you were asking me this question after last week, of course I would have said, forget about it. He only had 3 targets. He had a big play late. There's something that stood out, and Philadelphia just continues to be desperate at receiver. And I said that they will come back, and I'm talking about Jeffrey and Jackson and Goddard, but we don't know when. We can't say for sure that they're all coming back in week number 6. In Philadelphia, like I was trying to say before, they find themselves in this game script where they're having to throw. The targets win his way. He's not even going to be close to being my number 1 guy off the waiver wire. But if I need a receiver in week number 6 and I can't get my hands on Claypool,
go with him against Baltimore?
No, I mean, I wouldn't love it, but if the volume's going to be there, I might give him a shot.
I don't know. That's like the toughest matchup. Okay. How about this game? Miles Sanders, just to get it out there, Miles Sanders had a 74-yard rushing touchdown. Otherwise, he had 10 carries for 6 yards.
And another touchdown.
That is true. How about James Conner? How are you feeling about him? I don't even have a buy or sell, but I know, Dave, you've been like a little hesitant to fully buy into James Conner. 15 carries, 44 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 catches, 19 yards.
Weird thing happened on the opening drive. McFarland got some playing time next to Conner. Yeah. And then late in the game, it was Benny Snell salting the matchup away. If I've got Conner, I'm obviously going to continue to use him. I would make an effort to have another Steelers running back behind him. I think Snell is probably the one that I would want to have, not McFarland, because I'm not sure if McFarland can handle every down work like the Steelers tend to give their running backs.
All right, Heath, let's go to our next game. 23-16 Carolina with the win over Atlanta. Go ahead.
Believe it or not, you can drop Matt Ryan.
David, I always wonder if you're waiting for me to talk. I'm always
no. Like, I'm literally sitting here leaning forward and contemplating that question. Like, I'm not ready to. Sometimes with these believe it or not, it's snap answers. I know what the answer is, but I don't get them in advance, so I don't have the time to think about it before the show, which is how I want it to be.
I don't either, Dave.
Yeah. I would point out he's struggled badly without Julio Jones, and with Julio Jones weeks 1 and 2, he scored 28 and 35 fantasy points, but those games were against Seattle and Dallas. So was it the matchups or was it Julio? I'm not dropping him because I know what his potential is.
I don't think you can drop him, so I do not believe it, but I do believe that there will be weeks where I look at him on my roster and I go, do something. Throw some touchdowns. Come on.
Okay, buy or sell. DJ Moore is worse than CeeDee Lamb rest of season.
Sell.
I think Lamb will have more targets. I'll buy it. There it is. I said it. I'll buy it.
Yeah, Moore had it looked like a good game, but he only had 5 targets.
Did you see the touchdown? Did you see the touchdown?
That's just no.
Go ahead, Heath. Go ahead.
DJ Moore did not have what looked like a good game. DJ Moore had a very good game.
Take everything I say so literally. Just let me explain. He only had 5 targets. Robbie Anderson had 13 targets. That's I was trying.
When he's bad and he has 12 targets, we say DJ Moore had a bad game.
Yeah, okay, but Heath, like, what are you going to rely on a 57-yard catch and run type of play for his touchdown? He still gets no red zone targets. That was a fluky play. It was a great play. He's a great player, but it wasn't an encouraging game necessarily from a fantasy standpoint when he had 8 fewer targets.
I think that's a better way to say it than DJ Moore had what looked like was a good game.
Just give you a little bit of slack, okay? Like, sometimes I'm going to say things.
DJ Moore had a good game, but it might be a good idea to try to sell off of it.
Yeah, okay.
Great, perfect.
All right. Oh, man. Buy or sell, drop Russell Gage.
Bye.
BYE, bye.
Goodbye.
Arizona 30, Jets 10. Go ahead.
Believe it or not, you should try to sell off of this game from Kenyon Drake.
Believe it.
Yeah, I think so. It was, again, like, not an encouraging game. Just 18 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown.
I think he's devolving into a physical running back, and I don't know if he can do that. The touchdown that he had was from a yard out. The 2 plays before it, they're literally running him right up the middle of the
cut. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's what he's cut out for.
I'm really interested in your take because when he was trying to get outside, it just wasn't working today. And he was trying a lot.
It's been like that all year.
I don't know if he's bigger. You know, one thing, when we talked to Damian Williams on Twitch last week, we asked him, why did things click when he went to the Chiefs? And he said that they had him lose weight. Like, the Dolphins wanted him so much bigger. And that could be something. Like, I don't know if the Cardinals just want him to be a more.
It looks like after Kyler Murray gives him the ball, he like has those resistance bands and he's holding on to them. And you see the training they do with those where like Kenyon Drake's trying to run away from him, but he's holding him with the resistance bands. Yeah, it's not good.
I feel like I'm seeing hesitation in his runs too, but it's a different type of hesitation. You know, with Le'Veon, I think it's purposely done. Like it's like skipping is part of his regimen.
Yeah, does Pete say tiptoeing or something?
Tiptoeing through the tulips. That's
tiptoeing through the tulips.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And Kenyon Drake, meanwhile, man, Pete is old. Meanwhile, Drake is like it's like
he's running through the resistance bands.
He's processing the play slower. It feels like.
Who'd you rather have, Todd Gurley or Kenyon Drake?
Gurley.
Kenyon Drake or Odell Beckham?
I
gotta find some Beckham here. Kenyon Drake or Mark Andrews?
What?
He's a running back. I mean, running backs are hard to find.
Yeah, Andrews.
Okay.
Yeah, tight ends are hard to find too.
Clarify. There are lots and lots of running backs. You can find them. Generally, there's like 100 on the waiver wire each week.
There might be one on Drake's team who ends up being better than
good running backs are difficult to find.
Now, look, I get it that Edmonds isn't getting nearly the same type of carries, and there's a chance that changes. And maybe it doesn't change because Edmonds is clearly smaller than Kenyon Drake. But it wouldn't surprise me at least if Edmonds starts to cut more into Drake's playing time. We might see this thing go 50-50 at some point.
Okay. How about this? Kenyon Drake or Jamison Crowder? PPR.
Drake.
Okay.
Give me Crowder. I said it.
3 100-yard games. After I got ridiculed for even suggesting that we could take Jamison Crowder over Melvin Gordon going forward. And I get it. Melvin Gordon's better than Kenyon Drake right now. But
you did say PPR, right?
You?
Dave and Jamie.
Yeah, man, we did.
Jerks.
We did. We are idiots. I take it back. You're smart. I'm stupid. Well, you're right. I was wrong.
Football opinions on today's show, and
you're handsome. I'm not very good looking.
Of the audience that hates me so much when I give football opinions. So I've actually thought about that, and I'm sorry to all of you. Please stop leaving crappy comments in iTunes.
Okay. I'll stop.
Miami and San Francisco. Miami blows out San Francisco, Heath.
Yeah. Believe it or not, like there's not any wide receivers that really matter on the 49ers. Like always.
It hurts my heart to believe that. Because
I
I love Debo Samuel. I really do. He had 8 targets.
He did.
He had, maybe it's just because the 49ers because Garoppolo had a terrible game. And do you know the Dolphins kicked 3 field goals inside the last 2 minutes? That counted. 3 field goals that counted with 2 minutes remaining in the first half.
No, I didn't realize that.
They kicked one right at 2 minutes, and then 49ers got the ball back. Garoppolo threw an interception. Dolphins did a little drive, kicked a field goal. Garoppolo got the ball back with, 30 seconds or something like that to play. Threw another interception. Dolphins kicked another field goal. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that was pretty incredible.
Well,
I can't justify a roster spot on Debo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk moving forward.
Well, Dalvin Cook is back.
Okay, good.
Thank God.
Shouldn't we give
and LeBron James is the GOAT.
Shouldn't we let me speak? Shouldn't we give a little bit more leeway here to Debo Samuel because he really hasn't played yet with a healthy Garoppolo?
Yeah. Okay,
I was skeptical.
Fine, but...
it depends. I was skeptical of Debo Samuel before he was hurt because they drafted a wide receiver in the first round and he was only good when George Kittle was hurt last year. So he's still really only been good when Kittle's not there, but yeah.
Look, you can keep him if you want to. I don't know when you'll feel confident starting him. I'm starting to, if you line him up with Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup, when are you starting Debo Samuel over either of those wide receivers? Confidently. I hear your silence. My question has been answered.
It's the kind of thing that could change next week. All it's going to take is one good game from Debo Samuel.
Would you drop Debo Samuel for Chase Claypool?
Yes.
I might regret it, but I think you have to do that.
Yeah.
Cowboys 37, Giants 34.
Holy Chris Carson.
Yeah. Which game? I'm sorry.
Giants Dallas 37, Trevor Lawrence 34.
Yes. Believe it or not, Devonte Freeman might just be a borderline startable running back.
Believe it. Excellent. Believe it or not, Heath. He looked good. And you know what? He had moments where he looked good last week too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's going to look quite as good by the time we get to December because he's an older running back. And once he starts to take on some wear and tear, it might not be so great, but I believe it. 17 carries. He gets a couple of catches and he looks good. He looks like he can actually give you actual fantasy numbers from week to week.
Yeah, but and he did look a lot better than his yards per carry, which was 3.5. Just was a terrible defense. So, we should point that out, but good game for Devonte Freeman, 17 carries, 60 yards and a touchdown. And the most important thing, 2 catches for 27 yards, is he's completely dominating touches in the backfield. Like
he's got Washington and Philadelphia twice in his next 5 games.
He's the number one.
Well, if Philadelphia has Fletcher Cox, then that changes things. They're good with him. Buy or sell that Dalton Schultz is actually droppable with Andy Dalton.
There's not enough tight ends to say that. So
agreed.
Okay. It's pretty much, I think. How about Evan Ingram? Anything you want to say about Evan Ingram? He had a rushing touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown called back on a fake field goal where an offensive lineman did not report. And he ended up with 1 catch for 16 stinking yards on 2 targets.
He scored.
If I've got Evan Ingram as my only tight end, I need to find another tight end. Not saying I have to sit Evan Ingram, but right. I want to have an option.
All right, Cleveland 32, Indianapolis 23. Last game.
I won't do the Jonathan Taylor thing for like a 3rd consecutive week, but no,
you should.
Believe it or not, the Colts are kind of bad.
Believe it. The one element of their game that I think is good is their run defense. I was skeptical of their pass defense coming into the game. Mayfield did have some bad throws, but I do think Mayfield made a lot of plays. I think Landry made a lot of plays. So I'm not buying that the Colts pass defense is anything great. I do not buy that Phillip Rivers is great.
Oh, wow. Going out on a limb there, huh?
I know.
Phillip Rivers.
Well, think about how many nice things I've said about Phillip Rivers over the course of his career.
Man, imagine the Colts if they had Cam Newton.
Ooh, be great. I do think Jonathan Taylor's got some redeeming value, but
yeah,
it's very, very clear that the Colts don't want to overload any one person on their offense.
And I think he gets the Bengals next week.
He does. But again, keep in mind, he had 12 carries, so that's not a lot. But Hines had 3 and Wilkins only had 1, and they only had the ball for 25 minutes and 15 seconds. So when you look at it that way, he really did. He had 75% of the carries when you look at the 3 running backs. So that was encouraging. We have to see more of it before we think.
For the time of possession thing, Rivers had 2 interceptions. There was a safety because he was called for intentional grounding in the end zone. So there were a couple of things that led to that time of possession getting away from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't know what their time of possession is prior to this game, but I would imagine they're the type of offense that can hog that stat.
25 minutes and 15 seconds is really, really low. So people, you know, I saw a lot of comments today very upset about Jonathan Taylor. Really wasn't a bad game for him. He scored.
Yeah. He was fine.
Right, he was fine.
I mean, it wasn't as good as DJ Moore's game, but
obviously not. He's obviously not coming through the way we hoped, but he hasn't been that bad. Buy or sell, Jarvis Landry is back.
No.
Okay.
But he's not droppable.
Buy or sell, Austin Hooper is back. 17 targets in his last 2 games.
Yeah, I think that puts him on the waiver wire radar, but I just got done talking about how I need another tight end just in case Evan Ingram really turns into the full-blown dumpster fire. Hooper could be one of those tight ends that I'd want to carry on the bench just to see. The 17 targets is a positive.
All right, everybody. We're out of here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope it was useful.
I do wonder if Hooper's target share goes down when Chubb comes back.
For Dave and Heath, I'm Adam.
Thank God Dalvin Cook is okay.
Make sure you listen to Fantasy Football Today in 5, and we'll be back tomorrow with another episode, and then we're coming back on Tuesday with the Waiver Wire, the Chase Claypool Show. Talk to you.
Get well soon, Dak.
Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.